see here. Okay, can everybody see my screen here?
Yep.
Yeah, but I'm only half listening. Okay, can you guys see my screen here where it says, talks about the amendment? Okay, awesome. All right, perfect. Well, I'm gonna get started then. Since it is 6:30, I wanna thank everybody for joining the meeting today. So this meeting is for amending and adding this amendment to the declaration for a rental cap. We can go over the gist of it. There should be a limitation on the rental lease housing in the community as follows. And it just explains that they want to now, what the board is proposing for the whole community is to have a 10% rental cap in the community. We have a lot of neighborhoods that we manage and other neighborhoods that have come with us at Red Rock that have rental caps, or if not, this has been the big thing this past year and a half, just to kind of help with the neighborhood and keeping the rentals to a minimum, unless it's, there are some communities that have great renters. There are some communities that don't necessarily have the best renters who take care of the home as much as maybe the homeowner would. The other proposal in here with the rental cap is just making sure that we have a lease on file for the homeowners, or from the homeowners for the tenants, in case of emergency or any liabilities for things of that nature. Another thing that is included in this is the $200 administrative fee. So that it says for like reviewing the leases and maintaining the cap. That's not, that money would not go to Red Rock. That money would go to the HOA. So that's just something to kind of help build up the reserves for any future projects or any issues that the HOA may need to handle if the homeowner does not.
Right, get after it.
Now, I'm going to, oops. I'm going to open the board up for questions now. So who has a question?
What's the current rate, the percentage rate of rentals?
Unknown. The current right now, it is less than 10%. I think it is 30%.
How do you know?
So how we base off of that is we take the owner's address, and if they have a different mailing address, then we kind of assume that that is.
All right, I'll go next. What's the attorney gonna charge our HOA to make this amendment? What are the total attorney fees and any Red Rock fees, if any?
So there are no Red Rock fees with this amendment. The only attorney fees, it's about $400 for his time to make this, and then the filing fees.
And so you don't have a grand total, and can we get a commitment letter for that? So, because sometimes HOAs do this, and it's above and beyond $20,000 to make a single line item change in their CCRs.
Oh yeah, let's just see if I can pull up his email right now. So we use the attorney. We have a great relationship with them from Red Rock. They are wonderful. I'm not sure my email does not want to load right now. But he said 400, the utmost would be 500, just depending on the time, and that included the filing fees. And I have an email from him on that, and he hasn't even charged us anything yet, not even for his time yet. But yeah, I can get that and send that to everybody as well.
Okay.
Okay, I see Kent Jones has their hand up.
Hey, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. I got like a lot of questions, so I'm going to try to breeze through them as best I can. And ultimately, I was just looking, for a little bit of answers or a little bit of kind of, I guess, more detail, right? So when I read this, I guess my first question is regarding how many homes do you guys have on record as us having in the community here?
So that we have,
243?
And I was gonna say if it's
I think it's somewhere around there. I just wanted to make sure we're somewhere in that area.
231. I was gonna say no. Yeah, 231. I knew it was
Neither was 23.
Okay. So at a 60% vote, I guess on this, we would need a total of 154, 155 homes to vote yes.
correct.
Okay. My secondary question on that is, what percentage of the proxy vote is actually controlled by the board at the moment?
So let me look at our current proxies.
And again, this is just, I swear through all these questions, and Joey, you know me too, I'm not trying to be difficult. I just rather have all the information as opposed to a little bit. Not my first go around, so I'm just making sure that I understand everything.
Sure, ask away. That's the whole point of this.
Yeah, so as of right now, I have 3.
So the board controls 3 votes at the moment.
Yes.
Okay, and then depending obviously what comes back from what was sent out and called and everything like that, and those 2, but the board 3 votes, not 3%.
Yeah, they have 3 additional votes. And then again, also for the proxy, so say your neighbor, they could fill out a proxy and have you vote for them as well. It doesn't have to be a board member. It just has to be somebody present that was at the meeting.
That is helpful to mention. I saw that on here. So, but like I said, I saw the board too, so I wanted to make sure where we were at with that. And you kind of answered to it, but the 10%, and it seems like you alluded that that's the norm throughout other management contracts you have with other subdivisions and things of that nature. Is that right?
I do. So a lot of communities have 10%. I actually have one right now that has a 20% rental cap, and they're trying to decrease it to 10 because the 20 in their condos and townhomes, plus they also have single family homes. It's a much larger community than you guys, but it was never really well maintained before they came on with Bedrock. And over the last few years, they've had a lot of investors move in there that they don't necessarily manage who they're renting to. And so for them, it's a big deal too, because condos and townhomes, they share a lot of common walls. You know, that's a little bit different than being just a single family community. But a lot of communities actually do have rental caps. And if they're not, I have a lot that are actually trying to change and add them right now.
Sure, and I don't think anybody disagrees that something like this is helpful for the growth and continued value growth of the community itself, and understand that that's probably the driving factor here, as we all love our home values at the moment, for sure.
Some of us disagree.
Some of us. Okay.
Yeah, certainly. No one speaks for everyone.
Yeah, fair point. When I look at 10%, that's 23 homes. Is that correct?
Yes.
So 23 total homes allowed to be leased under this declaration. Do you know how many we currently have leased at this moment?
I think it was 3.
Including the burn properties.
Currently, no, it's like 13.
Okay, 13 is a I have pulled this.
Yeah.
So technically this would allow, and I heard you talk about it, but you kind of alluded that you weren't very sure what our rental cap is currently. Is that right?
We don't have a rental.
We don't have one.
Okay, so at any moment, anybody can lease right now under no guidelines whatsoever. I feel like I remember something being in BCCRs last time, but again, I'm looking back 2 years off of memory where a million things have happened since then, so that's why I asked.
People have to lease according to South Carolina law. There's plenty of, the guidelines are the same as far as any lease between any tenant and owner or landlord. So this wouldn't affect any guidelines that any tenants operate under. There are guidelines instituted by our counties and our state law.
Okay. So this would give an additional, so it would stop it at 23 basically. Where did the 18-month eligibility number come from? And I guess why not 12? Why not 24? Why 18?
That is just a common thing. So when we went to the attorney, this is just, they kind of have like a base that they had been using. And so they present it to us, we review with the board, and they just seemed to go.
Okay. So they suggested 18 as opposed to anything.
That kind of there's like short-term rentals too.
Okay. And then existing homes that are currently being leased are grandfathered in, do not have to follow guidelines that are being set forth now, unless another leasee goes in, or unless they sell the home. It seems a little blurry on there.
So for that, it's typically once they sell the home. So say, they're renting it out, now they sell it, because once they sell it, it's a new homeowner, so now that changes. So like say they've already reached the rental cap, and then they sell the home, they can't do that then. So we would actually change that at HomeWise. So whenever, say, you guys have met your rental cap, and the realtor is reaching out and wants some information, they'll actually be told that the rental cap has been met. So like an investor is trying to buy in that community, they will know that they're not able to do so.
Okay. So what I see in that, though, is a concern too. That means of 13 homes right now, I'm sure all of them are great people that lease with us, are under no stipulations of this whatsoever. And honestly, until they ever sell their homes, they're not abided by this declaration in any regard, right?
Correct, which I need to see here. I'm trying to pull up. That was one of the reasons why the board also wanted to kind of push to do this sooner than later. Just with right now, a lot of people moving, selling, like Zillow. I don't know if everybody's heard about Zillow. In my own personal community, Zillow has bought 6 homes in the last year in my community. And we don't have a rental cap. I live in a townhome neighborhood, and it's just been not very promising. Living in a townhome community, we're not too happy about that. But
I would appreciate it if we don't make any discriminating marks against people, whether, differentiating between their race, gender, or whether or not they own or rent. That'd be great.
Okay.
We can keep bias aside. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry.
So, like I said, I just, again, I think I left off an 18-month. It's funny that we talked about that, but I'll talk about that a little bit here. We talked about discretion in making the decision for a hardship waiver, and I saw the verbiage of that kind of set forth in this. I'm a little concerned, and I think it was Cliff, was that you that just mentioned discriminatory possible discussion?
Yes, sir, that's me. Let me get my camera on for you.
Okay, no worries. I guess this kind of rolls up into that question too. I think it's a slippery slope, and I'm a little concerned on the verbiage. I'm a little concerned on the verbiage to where we have this ability for discretionary hardship waiver with not a lot of detail or clearness on it. To me, that's concerning just because it kind of does open the door for a possible discrimination claim. And again, I think what also wasn't addressed in here is a little bit more, and I'll just roll this into one because I feel like I've taken everybody's time here, and I apologize. When it comes to the actual review of said leases, who's going to be leasing what vehicles and a couple other things that were mentioned in here, it doesn't really go into too much detail on what that review involves. And also doesn't make me feel very comfortable that it's at the discretion of a single person possibly on the board at that moment, who could be, discriminatory, using or being discriminatory, and saying, well, this is Bob and I don't like Bob. So Bob, your review for lease is denied. I'm a little concerned about that, not really being mentioned or at least clarified. Does that make sense? I'm right overstepping my thought process on that one.
It's possible.
All the above, right? So I guess I'm concerned about that. And I don't know how to combat that in a declaration, but I guess that's a concern. And I guess I'll leave it there, and that's all I got for questions at the moment. Let everybody else kind of weigh in, but.
I'll weigh in again. I think some issues aren't worth trying to throw money at and fix until they actually prove to be issues. And if you were to say every housing development in this country that does not have a rental cap sees decreasing value in their homes, you would be laughed at. There is absolutely nothing to support that whatsoever. And I'd also like to ask you, in the email that we got the first time this went around, it said that this was the idea of the board. Is the board presenting this idea to our members because our members have voiced this concern to the board? Or is it just one person on the board has this idea and now we all have to sit here and listen to it?
Thank you.
Madison or Joy, would you guys like to?
This is a question for you, or the board, yeah.
I would say, so we have had members of the community bring it up that they would like to enforce a rental cap. We tried 2 years ago or a year ago to enforce a rental cap. We are doing it again because, again, we are seeing property values in Indian land increase. We would like to protect the property value of our neighborhood because it's nice to see everyone likes the nice price tags that are coming in our neighborhood. We want to make sure that renters that are in our neighborhood, that one, we control the rental cap, but we also have renters that the reason why we want like information is because when emergencies happen, like I had a renter on my street that their dogs got out, we were running down the street, having information. It's not like we just came up with this, that we wanted this. It's been something that neighbors have brought up over the years. And again, we're going forward with trying to put in a rental cap.
I can't tell. Who's speaking?
Madison?
Madison, I don't see you on here. Sorry, it's not showing anything. So, follow-up question. So, we're voicing this opinion to you guys, and we're just beating down your door like, when are we going to get this done? I get it. I just don't understand how that's possible when I have written documentation conversing with Red Rock that there is zero way for me to communicate with my HOA board. They won't tell you a name, they won't give you an email, they won't give you a phone, they won't pass along a message. So if I wanted to say I wanted a rental cap, I actually couldn't do it.
Well, so I live in the community, so I talk to people that live in the community.
Do they know you're a board member? Because if I were to pass you on the sidewalk, how would I know? And you're saying that's the only way I could convey such a message to you?
No, I mean, on our Facebook page, there is the email for Go with Red Rock, along with, at the beginning of the year, Adrian, who is one of our other board members, put on the Facebook page saying, hey, for lines of communication from now on, this is the HOA email and the Go with Red Rock email. If you have any questions or anything like that, this is our form of communication. Please do not reach out to any of us personally on Facebook. This is our route that we're taking. So we have done that.
Well, why can't Red Rock forward that information to people when they ask to speak with you or contact you?
I am not sure why that has happened. It is on our Facebook page. We will, at this end of the meeting, we will send an email out so y'all all know what our email is. I don't know it off the top of my head right now, but that's...
It seems hard to act like the board is representing common or popular interests when, I mean, I couldn't vocalize a matter to I've owned a home there and lived there for years, and I've never once been able to say anything to my board members.
Well, the board has changed over quite a few times. So I am I'm the longest standing as of right now. I was on the board last year. I joined during the middle of COVID. I've been on for like a year and a half. I'm the longest standing right now.
So you were on the board when the last vote went out. And that's my next point of concern is the last time that they tried to sneak this in on us, the vote was very unethical. It was, all right, here's what's happening. Here's the link to vote. Oh, by the way, if you click that link to vote no, you voted yes. Because participation by doing that was a yes. And the only way to vote no was to just hit spam or ignore the email. How will this vote be processed? Will it be a fair vote, or will some people get duped into voting yes by simply trying to vote no?
It is always a fair vote.
No.
We were not trying to...
There were people who came forward and said, I didn't realize I voted yes until Cliff said how that worked. And now I realize I voted yes and I didn't mean to.
So
That's
we
not
are
fair.
sending, if you would like to fill out a paper ballot, I will have paper ballots. I will print them off at my house. If you would like to come get a paper ballot, you are more than welcome to. And then you can mail them in to Red Rock yourself if you would like to do that. We are doing online as well.
Will
We
it be
have to
the
have
same?
ballots. Okay.
I agree. I agree with that paper ballot because I'm with Cliff. You clicked on it, you were voting yes, and it was very unethical. My other thing is this: why does this even matter? There is no proof that property values will go down with renters. So let's understand something. If you rent your home right now, you're asking someone to pay $3,000 a month roughly with the rental rates. What type of people do you think can come into the community and pay that each month? Not slum. So we have to understand what type of people we're talking about because these houses are going up in value and whatnot. So the people who will be renting them out, to qualify for that type, you have to command a certain amount of income, which means that you're commanding a certain class of people. So what are we really talking about? Because I don't want to have to go through a hardship if I say, hey, my job says, Marcus, I need you to move over here for a year, but I still love my home over there in Reed Point. Okay, I can rent it out, make some money, and put a quality person in there that won't affect my community, move on and move back into my home. I don't understand why we have to be handcuffed with this. It just doesn't make sense to me.
So a lot of communities and HOAs do have rental caps.
A lot of people do
This
drugs.
is Adrian. Yeah, well,
That's not a good argument.
to teach their own. Either way, it's at 10% rental cap. You can have 15 houses rented out, and we don't even have that amount being rented out right now.
You don't know
I
that.
mean-
You might have more.
No, I do know that. I'm
No, you
actually one of the board
don't. You
members.
do not know for a fact how many houses are rented out. You can't know that. Sorry, you can make assumptions, but to say you know is erroneous and
I'm
ignorant.
with Cliff. It's very possible I could be renting to my cousin or my uncle or my aunt or my sister and have my address still being at the home, and you would never know the difference.
I'm a realtor. I guarantee you do not know, and you should not say that you know for certain which number of houses are rented in that community. You cannot know. You do not know, and that is silly for you to make such a
I think
statement.
properly rented out to where the homeowner doesn't match, like the address doesn't match the home. Properly rented out, we have 13. Now,
There are
under
plenty
the
of places
table,
to do it
that kind of
improperly.
stuff-
Yeah.
No, but under the table and
What's
that kind
under
of
the
stuff,
table?
there's
It
no way to
cannot.
complain.
That doesn't mean it's
Like-
under the table at all.
Right, Cliff,
Okay,
I
on the
want
side.
to ask
Call it
you
whatever you
to
want.
please let other people talk.
Absolutely.
Can we? Okay.
But if
let's let
someone's
other
making a
people
claim
talk,
like
not
that,
cut
we
off.
have to speak up against it because that's silly.
I understand, but we are all adults. We can all let everyone talk, get all their thoughts out, and then we can respond, okay? It's hard enough with having
Hmm
41 participants on here. I want to make sure that everyone gets their thoughts out and no one feels cut off, okay?
Likewise.
So the rental cap is a voting. If some people don't want it, then just vote that you don't want it. It's not that big of a deal. Usually all HOA communities have some sort of rental cap to help the neighborhood. You don't want to just have a neighborhood all full of rentals. Doesn't do any justice for people trying to sell their houses and stuff.
Can I ask a question?
That's wrong.
Yeah.
Can
Yes.
I ask a question? I see on here that you want a background check. It doesn't say what kind of a background check. Then what's the reason for it?
Madison, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so the background check is just for protection. If you rent out your house, you should want to do a background check so you know who's going to live in your home. That is just a basic background check.
You talking about financial or are you talking about criminal?
Background is
Okay.
usually just,
I
background
was
is usually criminal.
So are you gonna do one on all the people that own homes in there? Because there could be criminals living in there that own their home.
There are.
It doesn't seem right that you would just do it for tenants. I mean, I did it on my tenant, but I mean, It doesn't mean that they're the criminals and everybody else who owns a home in there and lives in there isn't a criminal. You could have pedophiles in there and not know it.
I would say that pretty much when we went to the attorney, they recommended a background check. They recommended it just because having a background check gives an extra layer of protection. I get what you're saying, but that was the recommendation for the attorney. When you go to get a job interview, you get a background check anyways. So,
Well,
I mean, it's
that doesn't make sense. If you want the 13 homes out of 231, how much protection is that going to give anybody? It seems like it's just picking on a certain group, and I think it's wrong, unless you're going to do it for everybody.
And let's say, here's an example of why that won't work fairly. Let's say you own a property and your son or daughter just gets out of prison after a 10-year term. They're obviously not going to be able to purchase a house when they get out of there. But you could rent to your own family member, your own blood and flesh and relative, your property and buy yourself a new house. But this HOA would say, you know what? Your kid's not good enough for us. We're not going to allow that.
I mean, you can put whoever you want in your house. That's fine. Do your own background check. Don't do a background check. Who cares?
Well, why are you going to do it if we don't do it? You obviously want to know if you're going to charge us.
I will say this, and Cliff and Maureen really bring up some good points, and I'd like to go back to kind of what I was saying here. Is I don't think that there's not good intentions behind putting this out there to have people weigh in on. I do believe that it came from a place to where people are concerned with their home values. And again, maybe a justified or unjustified, in numbers wise, possibility of rentals affecting them. I think though, the verbiage of this amendment itself needs to go back and get more work done to it. I think it's too blurry. I think it's not detailed enough. And I think there's some concerns when it comes to more of the specifics that really apply when it comes to the rental homes. That's just too blurry on here. And I think opening or leaving that really with no detail opens us as a community and you as a board in Red Rock to possible litigation because of that. That concerns me, and people that have been here for a while know that the last time litigation was brought, it was not pretty. I think that if we do something like this and vote yes on something like this, it has to be done right. I think it has to obviously consider all aspects of putting something down in stone from this point forward. Like I said, I get the intentions, I get the concern, whether it was brought up by a resident or whether this was brought up by the board. I just think more thought needs to go into, how to present this and make sure it's done correctly, and that's all I got.
And thank you, because we're not trying to come after anybody or certain people. It's just we're trying to do what is best for the community, and that's why we're having this meeting and this voting opportunity for those that want to say yes can say yes, and those that want to say no. But we don't like being also attacked and like pushed at either, kind of bullied, because we're getting 20 questions on when rental caps are nothing new if you go to any other HOA.
That's why some people didn't purchase in this HOA. That's why some people didn't invest in this HOA. And so to your whole argument to say why this is good for us is, we're not going to have those bad, nasty, dirty tenants in our neighborhood that are going to hurt our property values. Well, guess what? Our HOA is very clear. Your siding needs to look like this. Your yard needs to look like this. There's no parking on the street. That applies to whether you own or rent. So at the end of the day, if there's a house that's dragging our HOA value down, that's addressed already as is in our CCNRs. This doesn't change the standards that we can hold anyone that lives in our neighborhood at all. All it does is put it at risk for a lawsuit for making an amendment that we cannot lawfully make. Because I can guarantee you right now, even if everyone votes yes besides me in this, I will sue and still win, because when you amend these documents, you can make minor amendments. You cannot go in there and make night and day changes. In order to make a night and day change, you have to get an even bigger vote to get everyone to say, we are scrapping this document completely and starting all the way new. You can't go in there and do what you're doing as an amendment that is above and beyond what an amendment constitutes. So A, it doesn't achieve what you say you're out to set out to achieve. The HOA does that already. The houses have to look good according to the HOA. It doesn't matter if someone owns it or rents it, them's the rules. And B, it's unlawful.
I have a
Hey,
question.
can I say something? Hey, I wanted to echo the some of the remarks of the previous gentleman, I don't know his name, about the fact that this document is has a lot of points that are very blurry. Remember, we're voting on a document, okay? We're not voting on anybody's narrative. We're talking about a legal document here, so it has to be. Preferably it's airtight, but if it's not airtight, at least it needs to be lucid and clear. And when I read through the documents, I think there were completely ambiguous points, and I think, in my opinion, there's probably some unintended points. Like at one point, it talks about NC laws. This stuff needs to be in compliance with North Carolina laws. It doesn't sound even sensible to me. So again, if we're gonna vote on this document, somebody needs to get an attorney and really modify or perhaps even rewrite this document. Now that begs the question, is it worth the cost to do these things? So that goes back to another point I think was also brought up previously, which is that what's the benefit of implementing this? I hear the argument, but I'm not sure that there is, I'm not sure I've heard any, analysis behind this. It seems like there's the narrative, but to me, it lacks any, convincing power to say that doing so and so, potentially spending costs, association dollars on this would bring us any benefit. So maybe we go back to the circle one to think about this again. I don't know if it's worth the cost. So that's my comments. Thank you.
Ken, you had mentioned that the people that are renting now are grandfathered in. Does that mean that their count is grandfathered? Like, are we starting to count to get to 10% if this passes at 0 and starting from there? Or do those numbers count towards that 10%?
Those numbers count to the 10%.
Okay.
But once their home sells, then they wouldn't have to be in that 10% anymore.
Right, okay. But they can still have as many tenants that cycle through if it's still the same homeowner. Okay.
Can I speak? I've been raising my hand for 30 minutes.
Oh, yes, sorry. I thought you spoke earlier. I saw you come off mute, so I thought you already talked. I do apologize.
Okay. I just had few comments. I do live in the Reed Point community. And I want to echo and also ask the board members if they could please, like one of them has committed earlier, find a way to communicate better with the community. Because in the time I've been here, Red Rock HOA has dismissed my emails directly to them. And they've told me in writing that they would not forward my comments to the board. They have declined me attending any board meetings, whether virtual or not, with the excuse of COVID, even though I've done virtual for 3 companies since COVID started. And I don't think you guys do a good job at promoting yourselves, and I'm saying that with experience on other communities. Facebook is not a universal tool. I do have a Facebook. And I think that you guys should honor what you said earlier and send out the email so we're able to communicate directly with you and not with interference from a management company that, in my taste, has been bad. Okay. Secondarily, I wanted to portray something that I think is coming across in this meeting, and it's very clear. I work with multiple facilities as a consultant, and what you're seeing here is people that have come up that are investors and have very rationally looked at this from an investment standpoint. and very quickly dismissed a lot of the points that are being brought up here. The reason they do that is because they have experience in real estate. And what you're seeing here is this has been presented with inexperience. And I believe that the purpose was not sent out because that is exactly the purpose. The purpose is to limit people with experience and knowledge, such as investors, from having any power in this community. When there is no evidence that renters, like someone earlier said, $3,000 a month renters are going to harm this place, you have people here that are investors that are very rationally telling you that that's not going to happen, and it has not happened. But there are forces here on this call, whether HOA or Red Rock, that want to prevent that. And they want to keep raising fees, as they put in this document, putting a $200 fee for what? For background check? It's crazy. So I think you guys should reflect on that. If there's anyone here that's a swing voter, which I don't think there is. And I just want to say that so far the communication has been bad because I've had a lot of questions about this document. I've received 6 or 7 emails for this document, whereas I've received 0 information from the HOA prior to this about anything else, including the rate increase that happened this year. And I haven't been able to ask those questions until tonight because of the lack of communication paths. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Well, we did have an HOA meeting in person by the pool that everybody was allowed to join based off that. And communications have been going out via email, and we provided the board of directors HOA email so you could reach out to them directly as well. But if there's a lack of communication, you probably do need to reach out to Red Rock to update your contact info, because we've been overly communicative via Facebook, mail, email.
I've got proof from last week that Red Rock refuses to allow us to contact our HOA members. So that's wrong. So I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm not gonna let you sit here and lie to me.
Well, I just said you can contact us via Gmail. I mean, like, we're telling you to contact the board via our email. So I'm not sure.
Well, I've been contacting them via the Gmail that is on Red Rock's website, which is the only one that I have seen since I moved in.
All right, well, if you're on our Facebook page as
No.
well for the community,
No.
you can get our contact info on there as well, because it was posted.
They should be able to tell me
all
that.
the HOA meeting notes.
You'd think they would just relay that information.
I gave up Facebook, so I can't get any information from that.
Well, if you're not getting any information whatsoever, contact Red Rock to update your contact information. I don't know why we're veering off subject.
I'm not saying I'm not getting it from you, but I'm just saying that not everybody is on Facebook. So I don't think that should be, the sources should be more than just Facebook and.
Yeah, and it is. It's been mailed out to residents and those that have renters. It's been, communicated via email with your current email address that people have provided. So, I mean,
I don't think you should put too much relevance on Facebook because not everyone is on Facebook.
And that's fine. I'm not going to sit here and argue with everybody all night. I think we all need to kind of wrap this up. If anybody has any other questions,
I'm not in a rush.
Feel free to ask.
I'm not in a rush.
I mean, you brought us here tonight, and that's what I was trying to convey to you. There was no way to ask questions prior to this because you put it on a platform such as Facebook, which I don't have, and I'm a millennial. Okay, you've blocked us from using a website because Red Rock decided to modify their website halfway through the year. You can't log on. I've asked for help; they won't help. And then you haven't communicated prior to this, so you have not built a network where people can ask questions. That's why I'm sitting here for 40 minutes talking to you guys.
Amen.
In the mailings and the emails that we sent out from Red Rock, it said that you could send it, because I have had a couple homeowners that have emailed in that was forwarded to us. Another thing on the portal as well is, like, say if you were to submit a work order, I can see those work orders. They come to me and I'm your community manager. So instead of calling support or emailing support, if you want to put in a work order, even though it's not technically a work order, that will still pop up under my login and I can see that for your community. So if you want to present something, that way it'll come to me and I can the board can see that when they log in on their side as well. So that's another outlet if you guys would like to.
What's the next step now? Since we're not real happy with some of the things here.
Okay, so the next step now, so we can send out the voting link. We can also send, there have been people that
how are you guys going to, you said anybody that's renting right now is grandfathered in. How are you gonna officially make sure who's renting and who's not trying to sneak in right before this, before this amendment? How do you know, or what are you gonna do to get the people that are already renting and doing everything proper and then before this amendment?
So how we base that right now is just if somebody has the owner's mailing address is a different offsite address. But then again, if this were to go into effect, we'd email all the homeowners and ask them who is currently renting and go from there.
So if you don't, would they be able to use, say, a lease agreement or something to show that they were renting? I'm just trying to get these technicalities people are gonna ask.
Yes, yeah, so any lease that they have on file currently, or do you have on file, you could send to Red Rock.
How do you?
Another option.
I have not given a copy of my lease, my tenant's lease, and didn't know I was supposed to. When I rented the tap out, was I supposed to send you information?
No.
I'm sorry, whatever you were saying was breaking up, so I could not hear you.
You said something about the leases on file. Do you already have them on file now?
No, I'm saying if they have one, that they could send it to us to put on file.
Okay, that's a requirement for now.
No, ma'am.
No. All right, so my question still goes back to, these background checks. So are we voting yes or no on the way this is now, or will things be changed, or what? I mean, I think background checks really need to be if
So
you're
that
doing
is
it for certain people, you have to do it for everybody. You don't know who's living in there. Just because somebody owns a house doesn't mean that they aren't criminals. So for you to pick a certain group and say they have to be checked out for criminal, background, it doesn't make sense.
Yep, I understand. So we can send out a voting link, or we can also, what we can do is if the homeowners want to email in any changes that they would like to see or things that they would like to be removed, we can update this. I know a bunch of people express their wantingness of some of the verbiage being changed or certain things not being in there. So the board is open to that, just seeing, what other options. It's not that it has to be this set way. So we can still modify and change it. So that is something, we thank everybody for coming here. This is why we wanted to have this meeting, to get the homeowners' opinions. So we can go that route as well. And I did put the email in here for the board. And then also if you send it to support@go with Red Rock, and then just tell them to forward it to me, or if you want to put those comments in a work order on the homeowner portal, those will come right to me as well. So then we can go back and update this and maybe remove some things, change some things, because everyone did have some good comments on what they'd like to see or not see, or changing some things.
So what was the original vote date set for?
I'm sorry?
What was the original date set for that the vote was going to go out?
So we were going to mail it out today.
Okay, so now you're saying we're going to suspend that until we can actually revise this document a little, or are you saying the vote's still going forward despite everything you just said?
So we can send it out today and see if people voted. I know there's people on this meeting now too, but there's
I don't think that's fair.
That's not fair at all.
I don't think that's fair, because everybody on this call today has said their concerns, and to me, communication has been terrible. So if that is the case, and we're all in this together, right? We're all in this together, everyone on the board, we need to revise it, sit down, rethink it. That whole send out for voting right now makes no sense. There's too many people on this call today, that have issues, who've been in this community over 10 years. So let's stop it. Communication is bad.
Agreed.
Let's fix the communication now. And if we're going to move forward with it, because I think we all know that it is benefits in it to some extent, homeowners having, their equity protected. We get that. But this needs to be revised before we start voting on anything. Please do that. And that would probably help the community with this communication and working with Red Rock.
Perfect. So we'll go ahead. I just talked with medicine too, so we're texting on the side. So we're going to work on revising it. So what we're going to do is we're going to send out a mass email to everybody in the community with this documentation here, but then ask everybody, what are your thoughts? Set a deadline. If people can send in what they might add, what they might change, and then we're gonna have to do another meeting once we get it all revised. We'll do another meeting, get all together again. But you guys need to email that to support@go with Red Rock. You can put it in a work order on the portal that comes to me, or you can email it to the repointhoaboard@gmail and they'll forward it to me.
Yeah. I think it's not ready to go as it is.
Okay, so we're gonna hold off voting then, and we'll revise. I do appreciate and thank everybody for coming and expressing your opinions, your thoughts. Is there any other questions we have right now?
Yes.
I have a quick one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes.
There was something about Airbnb as well. Is Airbnb allowed?
For Airbnb, I think in this one, it would not be because that's considered, like, they want long-term rentals, not short-term rentals.
I've got another question. It's come to my attention that there is no check and balance system with Red Rock Management. If someone makes a mistake there, if someone has a discriminatory issue or something that could affect us drastically as you represent our HOA, there's no way to file a complaint, get information on who did it, find out if the problem was actually resolved or if it's continuing to be repeated with other people and just no one knows about it because there's no sort of check and balance. It's also come to my attention that Red Rock is under 3 different lawsuits that are all past the dismissal phase, so they're all moving forward. What do we need to do in order to get a vote to our member about finding a new management company that is not being buried in lawsuits right now and struggling to, like, they can't even tell me how to contact my HOA. So for me, they're providing zero service.
If you would like to email your concerns to your HOA board.
I'd like to second that concern because I've been dismissed when I've asked that same question by Red Rock.
Have our Red Rock fees gone up at all in the past year?
So we can end this meeting though, was just for the special meeting notice, and we can touch base and do all that another time. You can always email those concerns to support and tell them to forward them to me, Megan.
Because the services have been diminished. We no longer have an online forum where we can discuss things like this in between meetings. So you're cutting this off, but we could continue the conversation prior. But you've removed your online forums. We can't post about events anymore. So even though Red Rock has stopped providing services, I do believe we're still paying them the same amount of money, which to me doesn't seem fair.
That is not my thing. You'll have to reach out to Red Rock on that, and you can talk to my boss for that one. I didn't change the portal, so I do apologize about that. But if you want to email support or give Red Rock a call and have them for next meeting, then you can talk about that. But this meeting, though, I'm going to end this. This is just for the special meeting notice for the rental cap. But thank you all for joining, and have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.